What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Movement Mindset, powered by Station Athletics. I'm Chris Hardenberg, and today I'm here with Clark Crawford.
How are you?
Clark is a member at our Westfield location, and so we've had a couple interviews over the last, couple months or so. And I'll reiterate again, that's because I reached out to our general managers, and I kind of wanted to connect with some members who have really good stories, have had really good success at our gyms, can really speak to the program and have a story that would connect with a lot of people. And so one of the first people Haley sent to me was you. And so Clark, and I'm going to let Clark kind of roll in a little bit, but we were kind of going back and forth, me, JJ, and Clark in a text. And he's like, yeah, very nonchalantly, Clark goes, I think a lot of people tend to be a little inspired by my weight loss story. And I was like, oh yeah, really? And then you go through the whole thing, and I was like, oh my gosh, Clark, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's an interesting story, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so before we get into that, just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do now for work, your family, the whole nine. Just give us a little kind of bio on Clark.
So I'm in the life insurance business, been doing it for 25 years now. Married for 20 years, just celebrated 20 years 2 weeks ago. So,
oh, congratulations.
Thank you very much. 2 kids, got a sophomore in college, junior in high school.
Okay.
Got the dog, the house, the whole bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
busy.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a great life.
So, and we were just talking off air, your son's starting a college search, so that's always fun.
Yeah, it's always fun, yeah.
Yeah, so you're going to be, my dad so I grew up with 3 brothers. When we graduated, he was like, oh, it's like I got a massive raise just because I'm not paying for college.
Yeah,
so you're kind of on
right.
the front end of that.
Exactly, yeah. So it'll be, 8 consecutive years of college payments, but, at the end of the rainbow, though, it should be good. So,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. So I do want to get right into your weight loss story. So
Sure.
you've been with Station Athletics for how long?
Just over a year now.
Just over a year.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but prior to you starting with us, you had kind of like a huge weight loss journey, an up and down road. So let's go back to the beginning and kind of start to roll on that story.
So, I've struggled with my weight for probably my entire life. So I just turned 52 in August. And I'd say ever since I was 12, I've been heavy, somewhat active, so I never really thought too much of it. And I was always a bigger guy, so I was able to carry my weight on the frame. So, I never really thought too much of it because I was able to carry it, right?
Yeah.
But the older I got and the less active I was, and like I said, when my wife and I, got together, we got married, had a kid, and bought a house all within a year.
Yeah.
And so when that was 20 years ago, and trajectory just went, and from there you just don't really pay attention to yourself as much as you're trying to take care of your family and your obligations, and you don't really do a lot of things. So over those years, I just started to compile weight. And so in 2016, my wife was like, you should probably go to the doctor. She didn't want to. She was saying without saying.
A very polite nudge from his wife.
Exactly, right? And she's like, it's like you hadn't been to the doctor, and you're kind of like, breathing heavy in your sleep, and just go.
Yeah.
So I just opened up the health insurance, book and said, who's the closest doctor to my house, right? And so I made an appointment. They set me up for blood work beforehand so they can do all that while they do the visit. And I go to the doctor, and, I knew I was overweight, right?
Yeah.
I knew I was heavy. And I got on the scale, and it was 308 pounds.
Wow.
And I was like, oh,
yeah.
okay. I didn't realize, I always said I was 250, right? I was number's 250.
Yeah.
And when I saw 308, I was like, oh, okay. Doctor comes in, we talk. I've had 2 real conversations with doctors over the last 12 years or so. She was the first one. And I'm talking to her about how I get to coach, was coaching flag football all the time with my son. I was coaching baseball. I was trying to be active. And she said, listen, if you don't lose weight, you're going to die.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, she said, your cholesterol's off the roof. Your blood pressure's too high. I'm going to guarantee you have sleep apnea. If your wife's telling you you're not breathing, at night in your sleep, you probably have sleep apnea.
Right.
You're 308 pounds. You got to make a change, and you got to make a change right now. And I said, oh, okay. And that was January 2016. So I immediately went home and made a complete change. The first thing is I stopped drinking sodas. I tried to get a little more active. There was a gym in the office building that I work in. Started to get a little more, and so between January and December, I lost just about 50 pounds-ish, somewhere around there.
Wow.
So it's December 17th, 2016, and it's about 11 o'clock, and I'm lying in bed, and next thing you know, my heart just starts pumping. You know that feeling when you go up and down like a roller coaster, and your heart goes, it's doing that, but like, boom, over and over and over and over again. I was like, this isn't right. Just stand up. My wife's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. It's gas. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
And then I walk into the bathroom, and then my right arm goes numb, and then my left arm goes numb.
Oh.
I'm like, it's not right. I look in the mirror, and I'm pale as a ghost. Then I start getting the dry heaves, and I start going through my head all the symptoms. I'm like, I'm having a heart attack.
Yeah.
And my wife is like, I called 911. I said, okay. And I said, all right. She's like, well, sit down. I said, no. I said, we got to go downstairs. I don't want anyone coming upstairs to wake my kids up and see this happen.
Yeah.
So I threw some clothes on. I go downstairs and I sit on the couch, and I'm just breathing, and I don't know really what's going on. I just know that something's not right. It was really bad. EMS comes in, they do their thing, and they're like shoving baby aspirins down my throat. And the woman looks at me and she goes, "Sir, you're having a heart attack." And the first thing I said, F you. No, I'm not. I just lost 50 pounds. What are you talking about? I'm having a heart attack. So they rushed me to the hospital, and I get there, and everything's so rushed that they don't even have time to put me under to do the stent. So I'm lying there, and they do the stent. They run it through my wrist.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm watching the whole thing happen.
Holy smokes.
Because there's not enough time, right? And so everything gets done. The cardiologist, I actually had the cardiologist forever until he just retired. But he was like my guy that I was going to. And my first appointment with him afterwards, he said that, I had the Widowmaker, was the heart attack that I had.
Oh, no.
And he had said that had you not lost that 50 pounds, either would have killed you or your recovery just would not have been what it was supposed to be. It would have been, you could have been disabled, you would not have been able to come back from it. So I was like, oh. So I started to slowly come back, and I started running. I was like, oh, I need cardio, so I'm going to run. I'm going to run. So I started to do like 2 5Ks a month. And I'm running and I'm training. I did a triathlon, and I got a spot in the New York City Marathon.
Wow.
It was like 2018, I believe. I'd never run that distance before. And I'm running. I'm actually running up Westfield Avenue one day. I'm at 17.6 miles, and my knee just goes.
Oh.
I'm like, oh. I have to call my wife. Like, you got to come get me. I can't come back. She picks me up. I go and go see the orthopedist, and luckily I avoided any major damage. And I told him what I was doing, and he said, I don't know what you're trying to prove, but I wouldn't go through with this marathon. So I backed out, crushed me, because it was kind of a bucket list thing for me.
Yeah, and on top of it, like, marathon training it's long.
Yeah. And
it's grueling, and on top of it, you said you ran 17.6 miles. It's not like, oh, I went and jogged in 10 minutes. It's like an hour plus of
absolutely.
training. So yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, so I was working my way up to it, and so I said, okay. So that was the first time I was not active in so long, and it just started compound. I started gaining weight back. COVID came, and I was already on like the ledge, and COVID just pushed me off, right? So a lot of the weight that I lost just started to slowly come back all over again. And I was just like, oh. So we get to the other side of COVID, and I could see the weight, coming on, and and I'm seeing the pictures, that I was taking a lot of like before and after pictures as I was on my journey. And I was like, oh, I'm getting back to that. I got to stop. So a couple of years ago, I finally seek like actual help.
Sure.
Right. So, like, I don't ask for help for a lot of things, right? And so like I'm good at the doctor. I'm like, I need help.
Yeah.
So I go and I see a weight loss doctor, and she's suggesting the GLPs, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. If I'm going to avoid it, I don't want to do that. So we try all these other medications, they don't work. And she's like, just try the GLPs.
Yeah.
So we did. And I had immediate success, right? And so, and the weights kind of popped off. But, what I've learned now over the last year and a half, it's been crazy with the amount of knowledge that you learn. When, great, you don't eat, right? But you have to eat,
yes.
right? Like it's like I eat more now than I ever have, and I'm at the best, I'm in the best shape in my entire life,
right?
But you learn these things. So losing the weight, everything's fine, and then I get stuck at a number, and then so she's like, well, you got to start being active. You got to start working out. I'm like, oh, I work out. And this is the second conversation I had with a doctor that really resonated with me. She goes, but are you doing everything you can? I was like, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And it really, like that was the very first self-accountable moment I had when it came to my actual, am I really doing everything that I can do?
Right.
I'm like, you know what? I'm really not. I go to the gym, I go to spin class, and I might move some weight around, and I think, I get up a sweat, so I worked out. No, you didn't really. But
right.
Any movement's good movement, right? I mean, that's you can't dismiss that. But there's actual movement and there's real movement.
Right.
And so that's when Station came into play. And so I'm sitting there and I'm doom scrolling Instagram, and the 6-week challenge keeps popping. And I'd seen it before. So one day I decided I'd push the button. So let me go see. I come in. This had not yet been open yet.
Okay.
I pulled up here. I pulled down the street. Haley's here. And I remember the first thing I ever saw was I was sitting in this window, and she's walking on her hands across the floor. And I'm like, okay. And none of this was here yet.
Yeah.
This is still a shell. And she just goes through the program with me. And I'm like, okay, I think I can do it. So I waited a month for it to open, right? And I went in, and then we just hit it. And I never did any of the movement. I was like, burpee. I was like, oh, these suck. You do these all the time? I'm like, okay. And then she's like, okay, well, then jump on this box. I'm like, jump on the box? Okay, this is what you guys do, is jumping on boxes, and then doing back squats and front squats, all movements that I don't do.
Yeah.
And I've never done them before. And if I, on the days that I go to the gym that I'm not here, I wouldn't do these movements because no one's ever really taught me.
Right.
No one's ever held me accountable to it. No one's ever really been that inspiring for it. And I always see this thing about CrossFit this and CrossFit that, and you start making up these scenarios in your mind about what a CrossFit gym is. And you get here and it's not that at all whatsoever. Like, everyone's super supportive. All the coaches are great. Everyone's stopping you mid-form, telling you what you're doing wrong and how to correct it, not telling you that you're out of shape and you don't know what you're doing. Like, they welcome you in here. And so the year and a half that I've been here, I just saw there's a complete transformation in just how my body was just responding. No other way that I've worked out and lifted weights and did things have I ever changed the way I've changed when I was here.
That's cool.
Which is great, because you look at the board and you're doing so many different things every day, and all things I would never done before. And the accountability piece of it is great, and that's really the key. Is are you doing everything you're supposed to be doing? Are you here working as hard as you can?
Right.
And it's been great. So, the last time I saw my cardiologist before he moved to Arizona, he was like, dude, you're doing great. Just keep doing what you're doing. Amazing. It's awesome. So now I'm completely off. The only med I take is a cholesterol medication, but the blood thinners, I'm completely off. The blood pressure meds, I'm completely off. Everything's managed through diet and exercise. And it's been a game changer since I've been here. So, I love it, and it's great.
That's really cool. I mean, so as you went through that, there was a couple points I started to pick up on, and one was, if you start at the beginning, it's amazing as people what we'll tell ourselves, and not lie's a strong word, but almost like you thought you were 250.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, I'm 250. Yeah. You weren't stepping on a scale, but it was just like, that's the story we'll tell ourselves. It's not that bad.
Yep.
And it's like, until you have raw evidence that's like, no, bro, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I thought that was super interesting. I mean, credit to the doc. I mean, to be fair, doctors, there are some doctors that get a bad rap because it's like they're not in shape or they won't maybe have that conversation with the patient. But shout out to those doctors to basically be like, Clark, if you don't change things, like you're going to die.
Yeah. And she's right. I would have. If I had not changed anything and I had just gone down the path I kept going, chances are I wouldn't. I was 42 years old when that happened.
That's crazy.
You know, I was a young guy. For that to happen, that's, you know, it was not supposed to be half-hearted. And a widowmaker at that at age 42.
Right. And how tall are you?
6 foot.
6 foot. So it's like you're a tall guy. Like you said, I carried my weight well. So, and there's a norm, I think, in our society now where it's like, dude, you're not that, you know, at 300, 6 foot, it's like, yeah, you're a big guy, but it's like, I know people bigger type deal. But your biomarkers were like real bad. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so credit to you to be like, because there are also people who hear information like that and it isn't enough to immediately kick them into gear. And so for you, it was. And so it's amazing that you had that life event and fortunately was able to come out on the other side of that, which is awesome. But then there could have been plenty of people when your knee blew up from the running, because running's a go-to, right? I'm sure it was your thought process too. It's like, all right, well, I don't know what to do, but I know I need cardio, so I'm just going to run. And if I run, that's exercise, so I'll lose the weight too. And so your knee blows up, and when you start to put the weight back on, there's plenty of people who would have been like, screw it. Like I can't win.
Yeah, I tried. I can't do it.
Right. What kept you from doing that?
Well, I did. Right. I mean, I did do that.
Right.
I did go through a phase like, all right, well, whatever. You know, I did triathlons, and the weight is coming back. So whatever. I can't do it. But it was really just, you know, I had a moment of just of self-reflection when I was looking at myself in the mirror, and I saw that the weight I had lost. You know, we went on a trip to the Grand Canyon a couple years ago, and I was looking at those pictures, and I was like, come on, man. Like,
yeah.
You were so much better off. Like, and I could compare it to the 2016 pictures to these pictures that were, you know, were like 21.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, you lost all this weight, and now it's coming back, and you can see it. And so I just, you know, but my wife was also a really, you know, super, you know, supportive, because she was going through her own journey as well.
Okay.
And she started to really kick herself into gear. And, you know, we got the home Peloton bike, and she's doing her thing. And, you know, and so I don't want to say we have a competition, but it's a little healthy competitive.
Yeah.
But it's more keeping ourselves, each other accountable, right? So, like, you know, I was telling JJ, you know, when I wake up every morning, it's between 4:15 and 4:20 every morning to get myself ready to go.
Yeah.
She hears me get up, and she tells me every day, she's like, oh, you're killing me when you get up at 4:20 in the morning. But she's like, you know, but it reminds me that I have to get up and go.
Yeah.
And then there are days, and if I decide I want to skip, and I hear her get up at 5 o'clock, I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, I really should get up and go and get some movement done. So, you know, it's more of a self-accountability. We hold each other accountable. We inspire each other. And so when I saw her taking things seriously, I said, you know what, I got to get back.
Yeah.
Also, you know, because we got to do this together. You know, we have kids together. We have family. We have a life together. We have to build this together. So, being healthy is part of it, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, and she had her own moment of clarity of, you know, am I being honest with myself? Am I really doing everything I need to be doing? And I think she had that same sort of, you know, spark of like, yeah, let me get in here and do my thing too. So, you know. Yeah.
And so two things from there that I hear is like, I hope it's okay that I say this. There's a reason why you guys have been married for 20 years, because to me, it's sad. You know, I'm doing more consultations now because of where, you know, filling some holes, but it's been sad at various times in my career when I have someone who's trying real hard, but they don't have the support at home, where it's like, I got to make 2 dinners, or my husband or wife is like, why you got to do that? Oh, just sleep. And it can, you know, you tell people like, no, like make it a priority, and you're there to support them as a staff member. But if we're honest, you know, if you're fighting that every day because your spouse is pulling you the other direction, that's friggin' hard.
Yeah.
And so credit to you guys to basically be like, no, we're doing this together. We're going to help support each other because it's important. So that's a huge credit to you guys. But then the other thing is that weight loss journey, especially if you're someone listening who either does have a lot of weight to lose or has lost weight and it's started to go back the other way. This is not a linear line of like, oh, every day I just lose a little bit. Like life gets in the way. Things go back up. You go back down. You got to refocus. Like that's okay. It's called being human, right? And the worst thing you could do is let little bumps in the road totally send you back the other direction. And so it's like being able to accept like, okay, like you did, like this is not acceptable. Like I didn't spend all my time losing this weight to then just get back to where I was. So it's like, you're going to have the ebbs and flows and that's okay. As long as when you ebb, you find the way to get back into the saddle. So then you mentioned coming here, which I think is so funny. Cause it's like, we were talking off air of like, especially in the Westfield area, you throw a stone and you're going to find some sort of fitness facility. So you came in here, and you talked a little bit about like what surprised you, but I am curious, since being at Westfield, what has surprised you the most about whether it's the program, the experience, the staff? Like what has surprised you the most about being here?
I think what surprised me the most, I was actually able to participate and do the exercises that are like on this board.
Okay.
You know, I'm like, jump on a box and jump over it and do it again and then do a burpee and get up and do it over again. I'm like, the human body's not supposed to do that. Right? Like, but I was able to do it, and I actually look forward to it. I couldn't do a pull-up for the 51 and a half years of my life. And then all of a sudden now I come in here, the first thing I do is I bang out 2 or 3 pull-ups.
Come on, Clark.
Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome.
It's, and like those are like little things that you don't think you can do. You can do. You just have to allow yourself to do it. Right?
Yeah.
So, and that's what surprised me the most is being able to actually participate and do it. And you might have to do a little modification here or there, and there's nothing wrong with that either, right?
Right.
It's all about, good movements, being good to yourself, right? And just, and accepting what you can do, and I was telling JJ, I'm the oldest one in my class.
Okay.
Every time, I'm always the oldest one. So I think, I always look at I'm like, all right, well, if he's doing that, I got to do that. Right? And I think that the younger guys say, oh, well, this older guy's doing
100%.
Like, I got to be able to keep up with this guy, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's good. Another healthy competition. It's not trying to be one up or better. It's accountability. And, and I see this guy doing it, so I should be able to do it. Why am I, if this 52-year-old's taking is doing this, why am I taking a rep off? Let's match this, and I try to do this and I project it back and forth. So, and I see guys who've come in here and I can see that they need a little bit of work and they haven't, and they're starting their journey, and I try to pull them after class. Listen, just keep coming. I know it's hard, but just keep coming. I promise you it gets better. And then it gets harder again, just when you think you've got it mastered, all of a sudden there's a new cycle. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Thrusters? What? So it's so that's what surprised me most is being able to participate with little issue.
Yeah, I love that, and it's so funny you say that. I remember before I worked for Station Athletics, I coached at a different gym, and I'll never forget a conversation I had with a member. They were so dejected, and they're like, "This is I've been coming for so long. These workouts are still hard," and I was like, "I got news for you. They never get easy. It's because you get in better shape. And so what happens is you just go faster or lift heavier. It's still hard." So and I think you and people, other members like you are in a unique position. And what I mean by that is someone comes in, whether it's seeing me or seeing Haley, we're there to help keep people accountable. And I'm going to get to that in a second as well. But I'd be lying if I'm sure there's some people in the back of their head that are like, well, of course you say that to me. You work here. This is what you do for a living. You don't know what it's like to struggle, right? Mm-hmm. But when you have a member like yourself who's encouraging the new people, I almost think that goes 10 times further, because it's you can easily be no, I was you. And so it's keep coming, because you're going to see the progress. And another thing we talked about off air, and this is why, I'm sure Haley went through the whole spiel with you when you came in, right? The 3 components of success, fitness, nutrition, accountability, right? That's why we structured that way, is because there's such a hole in the fitness industry when it comes to the accountability, where there's a lot of gyms where it's like they sign you up, you come in, you're hot for a little while, and then it's like you fall off, which is natural. No one's reaching out to you, or like people don't know your name and stuff like that. And we were talking off air of like, I saw an ad for a local gym, like, oh, come get an in-body scan with us for $35. And I chuckled because I was like, that's so important. That's included in our membership.
Yep, exactly.
Right?
Yep.
And it has, in our opinion, it has to be included, because if I'm going to preach, we're all about getting you results and giving you all the tools to be successful, then it's got to be baked in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because it all matters. And if everything's an add-on, then it's like I'm sending the message like fitness is more important than nutrition, which is more important than this. And that's not the case. It's all the same amount of important, because if you don't do all three of those, something falls flat.
Yep.
And the other thing you mentioned about participating was like, scaling, modifying. So this podcast is going to come out after we interviewed literally yesterday a member at our Denver location. Her name is Stacy. She worked out almost her entire pregnancy at Denville. And one of the things she mentioned was like the scaling and the modifying. And she said how there's plenty of people who like don't want to bother the coaches to modify.
Yep.
And I find that interesting because she said it, and it's so true. It's like, that's our job.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I don't know if you even experienced that or seen that, where it's like, no, like the coaches want to help you, like let them modify, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll be in the middle of an exercise, and Meg is really good at that. She's like, because she'll see me struggling, and she'll say, Clark, do you want to change your box? Or do you want to change this? Or she'll stop me and say, just instead of doing box jumps to step, just do step ups.
Yeah.
Go back to jumps when the knees, because she knows my knees messed up. She knows I had a foot issue, so she knows. And to her credit, she doesn't need to know that. You know what I mean? But she remembers in the back of her hand. She's really good at saying, your knee's bothering you, stop with the jumps, just do step ups for now, and then if you feel better, because you got 60 more to do.
Yeah.
And she knows what's going on. So but again, they're all like that.
Yeah.
I just give Meg out because it's the first one that popped in my head, but they're all very good at looking at what you're doing and making suggestions and stopping you mid. Lewis especially. He's a big form guy, right?
Yeah.
So and he's always calling me out on my form, but not as a you're doing it wrong. To saying but let's correct you so you don't hurt yourself.
Right.
It's not a trying to correct you because he can. It's because he wants to make sure you're doing it right.
Right.
So you're not hurting yourself. So you continue, because nothing worse than an injury, because it'll derail you from continuing.
Exactly. And that's something when we interviewed Miriam a bunch of podcasts ago, that's one of the things she said was like, the staff is really good. She's like, honestly, they probably even err if there's one side they err, it's like they'll go too far the other side to make sure you don't get hurt and maybe pull you back a little bit. But she's like, but I'm okay with that because I know if I get hurt, that's going to derail my progress more than anything else.
Yep.
So yeah, that's really, really good. And like you said, you mentioned keeping, encouraging new people who come in. And one of the things I like to end all these interviews on is, if you had one piece of advice for someone who was in your shoes, months and years ago, what would you tell that person?
I think I'd say don't hesitate, don't wait. Whether it's station or any other place you can do it, just get active and get involved, because it's so important to do it. Like we were saying earlier, we're talking about my 16-year-old, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about colleges and career readiness, and you should follow this program if you want to do this, and he's not thinking that far ahead. But when you're 50, you start thinking about 70,
right?
And so I do these things not so that I can be the fittest 52-year-old in the gym. I do this so that when I'm 72, I'm still being able to move. I can still have an active lifestyle. I'm not stuck in a home, sitting in a rocking chair and listening to bingo. Right? I want to be golfing and walking and traveling, and you know what I mean. So
yeah.
You do these things for your future self, not just for yourself now, but for the future as well. And so if you're 30, 40, 50, or whatever, you start thinking about these milestones that are coming up, and you want to make sure you hit those the healthiest way you can. So I'd say if you're sitting around and you're waiting to get something done, I'd just get in here and do it. The 6-week program, the challenge was great, because the way it was structured, It was basically, put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Is basically what it was. I said, okay,
Yeah.
it's good. And it was unlimited, right? So you come as much as you want, do as much as you can, and this is the goal you should hit, and, do it. And so and Haley laid it out. She was like, listen, based on what I see, we did the in-body scan.
Yeah.
We did, we talked about the, the nutrition piece. We talked about the exercise. We said, okay, you're here. You should be here in 6 weeks. And if you do everything you're supposed to do, and if you're here for it and you're really serious, you're going to hit it. And that's the way it worked. I thought it was great. It was, when I tell people about it, they're like, oh, it's actually a really interesting way of looking at it. I said, yeah, it really is, because no other place is going to do that. So,
Right.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, and that's something I always tell people is like, I'm super honest, and it's not surprising Haley kind of says it the same way, because I trained Haley and she does a great job. Is like, listen, I tell people, I can't drive you to the gym and I can't cook your food, right? I'm gonna be honest.
Yep.
If you can't do those two things, you're not gonna be successful and you're not gonna hit your goal.
Yep.
But if you can do those two things, I'm gonna give you every other tool to be successful. And so, yeah, kudos to you to answer the bell. And I think that's a great piece of advice. Is like, the worst thing you could do is nothing.
Yep.
And so even if it's just getting out and walking, buying a set of 5-10 pound dumbbells and doing something in your house and then building up, or, like you did, okay, hey, I've been doing this on my own. I need help signing up with our gym and getting the coaching. I think it is great advice. Hey man, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
It was
Appreciate
met Clark for the first time,
Yeah,
and it was
yep.
really, really good.
Yeah.
And so, JJ, we already talked. You got him a bunch of pictures, so we're gonna be putting up. I think highlighting Clark's weight loss journey, him then and him now, I think is gonna be really, really cool. So be on the lookout for that stuff too. As always, guys, thank you for listening. We're closing in, like we're getting pretty close to 100 episodes, which is pretty
great.
crazy.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I think this is 77.
Okay.
So
Awesome. It's a good number.
Yes. So really, really cool. As always, guys, like and subscribe to us on YouTube and Instagram. Give us a 5-star rating on the podcast platform you listen on. See you at the gym.